unforgettable sandwiches, Maverick's Real Roast Beef.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting live on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, in the evenings on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, and in the nighttime hours, 1150 AM KKNW in Seattle. It is the Matt McNeil Show, what is going to be a humdinger of a Friday show for you. Buckle up, kids. Kevin Kling is going to join us. Kevin Kling and Galen Lee are going to join us coming up here in the 4 o'clock hour. Invisible Fences is over at the Open Eye Theater. We're going to talk to them not only about that show, but it's a theater about this is a show that features disabled actors, and we're going to talk about a little bit about the current culture in America towards the disabled, especially trying to take away the rights and Medicaid from the disabled, and we're going to talk about that as well a little bit. That comes up in the 4 o'clock hour here locally. In the 3 o'clock hour, Chris Kluwe is going to join us. That's right, Chris Kluwe is going to come back, the former Minnesota Vikings punter, arrestee from Huntington Beach, California, city council meetings, and now he's been fired from a high school coaching job because they say it's been too much attention. And yeah, that sounds like a whole bunch of blah. So we're going to talk with him. He's going to join us coming up here at about a little less than a half an hour from right now. So Brett joining us today. Brett, have you ever negotiated with anyone about price or anything like that?
Never. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, then you basically have the same amount of experience as our president does, apparently. Because if you're trying to negotiate down a price or a deal, you don't sit here and say, stupid head over here, stupid head, stupid head. Now I'm paraphrasing, but not by much. Stupid head over here is stupid. That's not going to win you over any great deals. That's just not going to happen. That's not how this works. I have to start this by saying I am a U.S. Army vet. I am a person who is proud of my country. I have been, sometimes it's hard. I mean, there's obviously embarrassment I feel towards what my country has done in various situations. The way that the Native Americans were treated is incredibly embarrassing, and it's long overdue. We try to rectify that situation. Slavery, obviously, horrible situation, and we still need to make amends for that. Racism, creating a system where the wealthy are rewarded at the expense of the middle and lower class. That's not a real proud moment for us either. Most of the stuff that we talk about are kind of they're societal, systemic things or historical wrongs of greatness that we need to address at some point. What happened today is probably the ugliest and worst piece of diplomacy I have ever seen anyone ever perform. I am deeply embarrassed about my country right now. I am deeply embarrassed. I have zero doubt in my mind most of the world hates our guts outside of Vlad Putin. And I tried to think to myself of maybe there were some elements in 18, and this is how far you have to kind of go back. The 1864 range, early 1864, where Lincoln was going to run for president and the pro-slavery Northerners were begging for some sort of, mulligan to the Confederates, and no, that wasn't going to fly. That was pretty bad. I mean, obviously Jackson's Trails of Tears was that was a policy issue. That wasn't so much diplomatic. That was a policy issue where he just ignored the Supreme Court. Same thing can go for when the people basically conspired to put Martin Van Buren in the White House, or the North and the South conspired to basically get Rutherford B. Hayes installed as the president. There is stuff like that, but I'm trying to think diplomatically. I can't think of anything else. This today is the most embarrassing day in the history of this country when it comes to diplomacy. Now, I'm going to speculate a little bit before I get into the deal here. And I think you have to understand, I think what happened today was Vladimir Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, goes to the White House. Zelensky sits down with Trump to sign this peace deal. What my guess is happened is that Trump was ready to go with one of two scenarios. That they probably did not have everything that was promised to Zelensky in the deal, or had more mineral rights than Zelensky had agreed to in the deal. And either Zelensky was going to accept this tough guy negotiations, and then they would have had a nice, peaceful little press conference with minimal questions, and they shake hands and they go their separate ways. But Zelensky, I don't think, did that. And I think, particularly, if there's one thing about the peace deal, which it seems is Putin commanding Trump to make sure does not happen, is peacekeepers from the UN and the European Union on the ground in Ukraine to keep an eye on the Russians. They don't want that. And it tells you everything about the Putin and the Russians. They don't want that. So what you've got is, my guess is, in the peace deal was supposed to be peacekeepers. Trump goes, there ain't going to be any peacekeepers, and you have to give us another 20% of the mineral rights, or else you can just go home. And he says, no, I'm not going to sign it. And that's when the second scenario came out, which is what we saw today, which was a clear setup to basically attack Zelensky, courtesy of Vladimir Putin, operating with his hand firmly up the backside of both Trump and Vance. And proof of that is Vance even being there. Why was Vance there? He was there to be the attack dog. President Trump and his vice president on Friday effectively took the side of the Russian dictator Vladimir Putin in his brutal invasion of Ukraine, calling visiting Ukrainian President Zelensky disrespectful and telling him he has no cards at which to negotiate. You're either going to make a deal or we're out, and if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, Trump said to Zelensky in the Oval Office in front of gathered reporters. The Trump-Zelensky meeting in the Oval Office started with statements from both leaders and then questions from the press. Now, here's another, there's a guy in the press we'll get to here, but someone noticed that TASS, the Russian state media, had a reporter in there. Now, once again, why? And as a matter of fact, it was when somebody noticed this and said, hey, by the way, there's a TASS reporter in here, that the White House, all of a sudden, my guess was that person was there with an ambush question. When someone noticed, hey, wait, TASS is in this room, the White House press people quickly removed him. But that doesn't just happen. Somebody like of that level doesn't get into the Oval Office with a press credential, with the president right there, without distinctive approval. I mean, that was set up. So this was Vance is there. You've got some stage stooges, some setup guys. I mean, this was an 80s teen movie with Trump and Vance playing the rich kids who got to talk down somebody. Or it's the guy who basically has to start, my watch is worth more than your entire career. That guy at Zelensky. I mean, it was embarrassing. After around 40 minutes, a reporter asked Trump why he engaged with Russian President Vladimir Putin and distanced himself from Ukraine. Trump replied that if he didn't show a balanced approach, which is not what he asked, why have you been so overwhelmingly for Putin? He says, if I hadn't shown a balanced approach, I wouldn't have been able to get a deal. You want me to say really terrible things about Putin and say, hi, Vladimir, how are you doing in the deal? It doesn't work that way. Although that's exactly how he has treated Zelensky, calling him a dictator 10 days ago. Trump then said Zelensky has tremendous hatred towards Putin, and it's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate, he added, not even understanding the sentence he said before his own that he said just a moment ago. He added, I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with him either. As Trump was speaking, Zelensky moved in his chair, looked more and more upset. Then Vance weighs in. And like I said, Vance was there to try to get underneath Zelensky's skin. He said, the way to end this war is through diplomacy. Zelensky then spoke directly to Vance, recounting the events since Russia's initial invasion in 2014 and all the failed diplomacy and Russian violations since then. What kind of diplomacy, JD, are you talking about? Zelensky said. And once again, this is just a point. Russia has constantly not followed through on diplomatic efforts. To ignore all that is insanity, which is clearly what Vance and Trump were trying to do. And the fact that Zelensky then brought this up was now all of a sudden, you're going after our bro Vlad, man. You're going after our buddy Putin. At that point, the meeting devolved into a shouting match, Vance accusing Zelensky of disrespect and misleading visitors by taking them on propaganda tours, Zelensky noting Vance had never visited Ukraine. Zelensky then said that every country had war, had problems, and the U.S. would likely feel that someday too. Trump kind of said Zelensky was in no position to dictate what we were going to feel. You're not in a good position. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III, and what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country. This country that's backed you, Trump says to Zelensky, crossed his arms and tried to interject. Trump then told Zelensky, you don't have the cards. Zelensky replied, I'm not playing cards. Trump told Zelensky, your country is in big trouble, and Zelensky said, I know, before getting cut off again by Trump. And once again, they were shouting questions at him and not allowing him to respond. It was embarrassing to watch this. It's going to be very hard things to do business like this, Trump said as Zelensky repeatedly tried to interject. The visit comes as Trump's administration pushes for a ceasefire. Apparently, he did not sign the peace deal. Not hard to understand. And my guess is going to be, once again, that Zelensky walked into the White House. The peace deal that they had was, once again, not what they had discussed. He said, I can't sign this. And then came this attack because Vance's whole point to be there was just to yell at Vladimir Zelensky, as well as clearly some of the media's job there was to yell at Zelensky too. This is embarrassing, to say the least. This is, I mean, seriously, diplomatically, this is the worst thing I have ever seen this country do. I am embarrassed to be an American right now because of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. It's the Matt McNeil Show.
Join us April 10 through 12 at the Capital Readiness Summit, where we're bridging the gap between investors, support organizations, and the entrepreneur community. In just 2 days, you'll make connections that could take you years to build. With over 180 degrees of networking power, this is your chance to meet people you've been looking for. But hurry, the summit sells out every year. Register now at www.connectupmn.org. That's connectupmn.org. Follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn for updates and discount codes. If you're an entrepreneur and investor, you don't want to miss this event of the year.
Minnesotans are hardy. We don't let snow or ice get in our way. We have places to go. So making sure your vehicle is in prime shape for winter driving is so important. Take your vehicle to Rudy Luther Toyota for all your service needs. I was just there. I got my oil and filters replaced, and they did a complete safety check to make sure my vehicle can tackle winter. And they service all makes and models of vehicles. Head to rudyluthertoyota.com and use their super easy Toyota service schedule to set up your service appointment today. Rudy Luther Toyota on the southeast corner of 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
Supporting the best local and independently owned restaurants in the Twin Cities has never been easier. You'll find an expansive list of local dining options at eatlocalminnesota.com, from classic American comfort food to authentic flavors from around the world. Specializing in Szechuan and Peking cuisine, the Great Wall Chinese restaurant has been a local favorite since 1981. They offer one of the most extensive menus in the Twin Cities. Favorites include the sesame chicken, imperial beef, and Peking duck. The Great Wall restaurant is located off 45th and France, with takeout available too. More at greatwallrestaurant.us. Nightingale on 26th and Lyndale is the ultimate venue for unforgettable gatherings. Whether big or small, your event will be a hit with delicious food and drinks served in a warm and inviting atmosphere. Plus, Chef Carrie's special creations add that extra touch. Craft cocktails, curated drinks, and a diverse menu make Nightingale perfect for any celebration. More at nightingalempls.com.
Hi, my name is Katty from Minnesota Recovery Connection.
And I'm Erin with Minnesota Recovery Connection.
We'd like you to listen to our show, Redefining Recovery, a Recovery Revolution. It is on Saturdays at 10 a.m. on AM 950.
On the show, we discuss topics about addiction, understanding substance use disorder, the many pathways to recovery, and finding your personal journey.
Listen to Redefining Recovery Saturdays at 10 a.m. and find our podcast on your favorite app.
Peace of mind shouldn't cost a fortune. We keep things simple at Schroman Law because we believe planning for your estate and end-of-life care shouldn't be stressful or expensive. Every client relationship starts with a free consultation so clients have the information they need before making important decisions. From there, we work closely with clients to ensure they are choosing the most efficient and cost-effective plans for their specific needs. Schedule a free consultation today at schromanlaw.com. That's SCHROMEN law.com.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Chris Cluey joining us here in about 15 minutes. I was trying to think, it's like, what would be more embarrassing for this country diplomatically? What would be more embarrassing? Maybe the president getting drunk at like a state dinner and groping the first lady of another country. And I'm dead serious. That's where I think we are at today. Because this whole thing was a setup. And I'm going to point to something that happened prior to the whole explosion, which was clearly designed to put Zelensky off kilter. And like I said, this whole thing was a setup. Everything, the Vance being there, Vance just yelling at him, the news media, they had TASS news agency before they were removed in there. This was all a setup to go after Zelensky. So either Zelensky got there, and when they put forward the altered peace deal, he said no, and they went with this, or that they were going to get the deal and they shake hands and say, I got the best deal ever. And they couldn't do that, so they decided to try to embarrass him, which, once again, I want to make sure the world outside of Vladimir Putin hates us now. I mean, really, the world outside of Vladimir Putin and probably Belarus and North Korea, they hate us. The European Union, I was reading some of the comments after this from Europe. I mean, my gosh, some of our greatest allies have just said enough's enough. It's time for us to stop palling around with these guys. It's not the America that we know. And I think this whole thing today, when Trump thinks that this tariff war thing that he's going to do is going to somehow come out well for him and his team, I think what all you did today was solidify the world against us. And they're going to say, fine, let's see how you can dance. Because I want to make sure we understand something about the rest of the world. I mean, Canada and Mexico, to the most part, there is a bit of interaction between our countries, which is going to make it tougher, I think, on those specific countries. But the rest of these countries, I was stationed in Germany in 1989 to 1992 as part of the U.S. Army. I was stationed there, okay? They didn't really need us. I mean, there was a few things that you could get over there, but they had their own industries and their own food and all this stuff, and they didn't need us. And this whole modern day worldwide economy is a modern invention. And I don't think it's going to be that tough for them to basically go back and say, you know what? We'll just go back to producing most of our own food. And the United States is going to be like, wait a second here. I mean, I was reading about the economic impact of the potash trade. That is most of the fertilizer used in this country, which most of it comes from Canada. The economic impact to our country, if we don't get that, it's not, and I think this is what it is. I mean, I think the world has just learned we need to stand up to this man-child, and this is going to go badly for us. So here's where I know earlier in the press conference, they gave up the ghost, that this was all a setup to just run after Zelensky. That's why they had Vance there just screaming questions at him and stuff like this. Prior to Trump and Vance ganging up and demanding Zelensky thank them for contentious and ugly Oval Office press availability, the boyfriend of Marjorie Taylor Greene harangued the leader of the war-torn nation for not wearing a suit. In a video posted to Blue Sky, Brian Glenn, who reports for the fringe conservative site Real America Voice, demanded the Ukrainian leader, "Why don't you wear a suit?" Dead serious. This was his thing. Why don't you wear a suit? You're in the highest level in this country's office. You refuse to wear a suit. He could see why Vance is seen laughing before adding, "Do you own a suit?" I mean, like I said, watch Vance in that. Tell me that wasn't a setup. Vance is sitting there on the couch, laughing it up, chuckling it up. Got him, man. This is that douchey rich guy saying, "Hey, look at my watch. My watch is worth more than your entire life." That sort of guy. And by the way, if you're going to ask this question, you shouldn't look like a TV show, game show host from the 1970s, because that suit that dude was wearing was god-awful ugly. But watch Vance. Watch Vance when he's there. Vance just starts, as opposed to turning around. Rubio is sitting there just looking like he is seasick beyond seasick. I mean, he's just looking, he's got the 9-mile stare on Rubio because he's like, I can't believe I'm part of this. But Vance just sits there and starts laughing and laughing. "I will wear a suit after this war is over," Zelensky politely replied. "Maybe something like yours, maybe better." That was a good shot. So wait a second. You've got the leader of Ukraine in the White House, in the Oval Office with Trump. And the biggest question you dim bulb jackass dip blank can ask is about his suit. That was where I realized this was a setup, man. Watch Vance. He's laughing. Then, so they get him off kilter, or try to get him off kilter a little bit. And then comes Vance and Trump doing the dumbass cop and other dumbass cop routine, going after Zelensky and trying to shame him and yell at him. This was unbelievable. And pretty much the one thing that's, I mean, even Fox News apparently was like, well, I don't think that went really well. And I wonder if they should have had some more translators there or something. Even they were trying to do this, although I have zero doubt that Newsmax and OAN and Fox News and all of them are clearing out their entire evening schedule to talk about how Zelensky was right to be put in his place. This was embarrassing. If you are an American citizen, there is no, unless you are basically Vlad Putin's sister or brother, I don't know how anyone could look at what happened in that White House Oval Office, which was once again a complete and total organized setup, and think to yourself, "Oh yeah, this is what I want America to be. I want America to be the Cobra Kai kids attacking, Ralph Macchio on the street in their skeleton costumes." Dear God, I don't even want to imagine Trump in one of those. But that's what that is. That's all this was. And if anything comes out of this, the world now, with 1.5 months into this 4-year term, the world hates us. And I'm almost going to wonder a little bit about, because once again, there's a lot of, like, Peter Thiel and stuff like this. There's a lot of big tech money that's in on this. And I'm almost kind of wondering, like, guys, what are you doing? All right. I don't need people to be putting targets on me and my businesses in other countries. I can't just survive on the United States, dollar. I need other countries here. I'm going to wonder if some of this is going to come back at them, but this was embarrassing. By the way, coming up on St. Patrick's Day, Dermot Flanagan from Ireland is going to join us. He's already chimed in and says, "I can't wait to tell you exactly what people think of America overseas." Dear Lord. Chris Cluey, when we come back, it's the Matt McNeil Show.
Hi, it's Matt McNeil. Listen to the Matt McNeil Show from 3 until 5 weekday afternoons right here on the progressive voice of Minnesota, AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Experience a brand new musical bursting with imagination and surprises. In Milo Imagines the World, a wildly creative young boy spends his time on a crowded train car, imagining the lives of the passengers around him, and sees his dreams come to vivid life in the form of vibrant songs and energetic dance numbers, with tunes ranging from pop to hip-hop to country. You won't want to miss this stunning new production that the Chicago Reader called an absolute delight. Milo Imagines the World is on stage at Children's Theater Company through March 9th. Get your tickets today at childrenstheater.org.
Spring and summer is the right time to install your fireplace. Find your perfect fireplace and have it installed and ready before the cold weather hits again. If you already have a wood fireplace, consider a fireplace insert or check out the entire selection at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces on East Franklin and Riverside in Minneapolis. It will transform your inefficient fireplace into a reliable, environmentally smart heating system.
This is Peter Solak, owner of Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Have you ever watched your dog or cat curl up in front of a fire? It's primordial, the way it touches both the animal and the human. We know that fire reaches deep into the heart and soul. Let us show you how. We have over 35 working units on display here in Minneapolis. We are located at the east end of Riverside Avenue at 2901 East Franklin. From I-94, take the Riverside Avenue exit. Find us also online at woodlandstoves.com. Let us help you make a fireplace part of your life.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
Hello, I'm Todd Mickelson, host of a Satellite View podcast. It's hard to find clarity or focus here on the ground with the fire hose of issues and events. We go up high and look back on Earth from a satellite view, where we can gain our bearings and learn from the past to shoot for a better future. And have fun and laughs along the way. Go to am950radio.com, click the programs link, and find a Satellite View with Todd Mickelson.
Minnesota's program for news, information, and perspective at the intersection of mobility and technology. It's the Tech Mobility Show. I'm Ken Chester, your host. I cover evolving mobility and technology trends and topics in a way that's easy to understand. Things are changing fast, and it's easy to get lost in the flow. By tuning into the Tech Mobility Show, you can stay informed about the latest happenings with electric vehicles, personal privacy issues, climate change, and more. That's the Tech Mobility Show every Saturday from 9 to 10 p.m. on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
You're listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 29, tonight clear with a low around 19, and Sunday sunny with a high near 45. Savor the excellence at Maverick's Real Roast Beef in Roseville. Elevate your taste buds with their range of sandwiches from the savory Philly steak to tempting turkey bacon avocado. Explore crispy chicken, fish, brisket, and whole options. Check out mavericksbeef.com or visit them off Lexington and Roseville. That's Maverick's Real Roast Beef.
Because we can! Yes, we can!
Broadcasting in the evenings on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk, in the nighttime hours in Seattle, 1150 AM KKNW, and of course in Minneapolis, St. Paul on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Joining us again is Chris Cluey. We remember him in the Twin Cities as the punter for the Minnesota Vikings. He is also a great advocate for progressive causes. And of course, we had him on the air last week to talk a little bit about him being forcefully removed from the Huntington Beach City Council meeting, where the City Council is basically just trouncing all over people's rights, and with a plaque on the library that is supporting MAGA. He is kind enough to join us today to talk a little bit about that, as well as also some other developments that have happened since then, and also the continued fight to make sure we stand up to these bullies and idiots that are in MAGA on every turn. We have to do that. Chris Cluey, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, thank you for having me on again, Matt. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, man. And you always have there's an open card for you on this one. I guarantee you. Okay, so first of all, let's go back to Huntington Beach. Has there been any developments? I know they arrested you. They were going to press charges against you. Have there been any developments since that happened?
No developments there. I still have a court date in April where I will learn what happens with the charge, which is a misdemeanor disrupting an assembly. And yeah, I'm looking currently in the process of getting legal representation for that, just in case the city decides to pursue the charge. Honestly, the smartest thing they could do would be to drop the charge and make things go away. But we'll see what they do.
My guess would be is that they will wait until the very last second to make it seem like we're going to be tough here, or kind of try to scare you or something like this, and then at the last second, right as they're walking in, say, "Oh, we're dropping this. We don't want to go. We don't want you to have another forum in a courtroom to basically go after us."
Right. Yeah. Well, like I said, we'll see what happens. I have no idea with these people.
Yeah, and trying to find rational thought process within MAGA is not easy there. So, unfortunately, there's been another development here, and I wanted to give you a chance to address this a little bit. It has to do with a coaching job you had for a local high school, and the school making the decision that it might be best if you don't coach for them. Is that correct? What happened there?
Yeah, so I got let go from my coaching job. I was a freshman football coach, helped run special teams, and then just kind of fill in wherever you can. Because for people who don't know, freshman football teams are chronically understaffed, so it's always a struggle to find coaches. And I'd been coaching there for I think about 6 years at this point. And yeah, they called me in yesterday. Our AD and our vice principal in charge of supervision wanted to have a meeting. So I went in for the meeting. They immediately informed me that the school was getting too much attention and they had to let me go. And I was like, okay, it's going to be a shame because now the community is losing a resource because I don't know where they're going to find another ex-NFL player that's willing to coach freshman football. We don't really get paid a whole lot and you have to deal with ninth graders. So, but yeah, it sucks for the kids because I really enjoyed working with them. I know they always got excited when they realized that I was a former NFL player, and you could see them like start to pay attention more. And they would ask me questions about my time in the league and stuff like that. And yeah, it's unfortunate that now the school will no longer have access to that.
This obviously you are, as you just described, a major asset for a ninth grade football team and NFLer coaching. Did the school make any argument in regards to your own personal performance, or did they just say this thing that you did outside of the school, which we all have a right to go and address the city council, we all have the right to protest, this is America, did they just hang it all on that? Was there anything they said to you about you directly and the job that you're doing that was the cause for the separation?
There's no mention of that. Like I said, their exact words were, we're getting the school's getting too much attention. We have to let you go. So I don't know if that was too much good attention. I don't know if that was too much bad attention. All I know is that's what they said. And that was their rationale behind releasing me. So yeah, we'll see what happens going forward, because I'm not a First Amendment expert, but I am also not sure that what they did was legal.
Well, the question, I mean, is it one of those cases where you see this with MAGA a lot? It's one or two guys that just scream at the top of their lungs. And frankly, there's a lot of, not just this school here, but there's a lot of schools, and I don't know what the situation with your school, I want to be clear there, but there's a lot of schools when that happens, they cave very quickly, because what the age of MAGA has taught us is that you can be a freaking howler monkey, and if you scream the loudest, you generally will get your way just to get people to shut you up. And is there any kind of idea there? I mean, were the parents, the obviously it sounds like the kids liked you a lot. Did you hear anything back from the parents of the team members that you were working with?
Yeah, no, nothing from the parents. Every year at our end of year football banquet, I would always have at least like 3 or 4 parents come up and thank me for working with their kids and providing a good role model for them. And I am fairly confident that this was a sort of astroturfed campaign by MAGA people in the community who did not like what I said, because we have some Facebook posts that will back that up. And again, as you alluded to, it's not, this didn't just happen to me. This is a tactic that the alt-right and the right wing have been using for a long time now. They tried to do it back when I was playing for the Vikings, when I was speaking out for LGBTQ rights. I saw it happen during Gamergate, and it's happened to a lot of people. And we need our institutions to start recognizing that this is a thing that can happen, and they need to start protecting their employees instead of caving in to the will of the mob. And I just want to say, for a group of people who supposedly hate cancel culture, they sure do love canceling people.
Well, no, that's exactly it. I mean, they, as a people that insist that their rights have been violated, they want to drive you down. And this is, I think, a real test for them. I mean, here you are, you're visible, you got tons of attention after the Huntington Beach City Council event. And so this is, it does, I agree with you. I think that this is a coordinated attack where they're just saying, how can we go after Chris Cluey specifically to try to set an example here? And so to the point, I'm kind of glad you're fighting back on the fronts that you are, because that's the only way that you cannot just give in to these people, because if they feel like they win, then they're feeling emboldened, they'll go after others.
Yeah, and I really do want to reiterate the point that, like, when they do this, it's not healthy for communities. When people lose their jobs who are good at their jobs, it's not good for everyone else. And it really kind of exemplifies what MAGA stands for. And we're seeing that both locally and nationally, is that they don't care about the harms they cause as long as they get to feel good. Right? Like, I don't know if you saw the recent interaction between Trump and Vance and Zelensky in the White House.
We just talked about that there. Yeah.
Like that just obliterated the entirety of America's global reputation and soft power that we have literally spent a century building. I mean, and it's all gone now. And for what? Because it made Trump feel better to yell at a guy who's been leading his country through a war. Like, it's
a country that was invaded
for America. Like, this was terrible for America.
Well, and as you say, it's kind of one of those things where I've said this about MAGA. They voted to hurt other people over making their lives better. And I've always said they will gladly sink on the Titanic as long as they are 10 feet higher up on the deck and can watch their perceived enemies drown first. That is a successful life for them. These are some jaded, broken, freaking people. And it's great to see you get under their skin so much, because that is, you're doing something which I think they're banking on people turning away and running away from them. They're not banking on people standing up to them.
Right. Yeah. And at the core, it's a movement of bullies, right? Like you saw that today in the Oval Office. I've seen it with my city council. Like these are people who want to tell other people what to do. They don't want to listen. They don't want to talk and compromise. They don't want what's best for their community. They just want what's best for themselves. And the only way you can stand up to a bully is by actually standing up to them. And it's not even necessarily like punching back or hitting back. You just have to say, no, I will not be afraid of you. I will not do the things that you think I should do, because you don't have the right to make me do that. And we're Americans. Like, we founded our country on the idea that, no, a king doesn't get to tell us what to do. We decide what we want to do.
Chris Cluey joining us once again, talking about what's been going on out there in California, where he is at. But I want to take some time, because what you're really doing, and we need to make sure everyone's aware, you're trying to save people from unnecessary pain and suffering. And that's what you're trying to do. I don't think tariffs are a good idea. I don't think a trade war. I don't think the president embarrassing us on a world stage is a good idea. I don't think rounding up the people who are doing the work that most of us refuse to do is a good idea. These are things we're trying to tell these people, and we've been trying to tell them. I tried last year, hey, he's going to cut Medicaid, Medicare, and Republicans kept applauding for it. And now they're getting to cut it. And it's like, well, how dare they do this? We try to keep telling to help these people, and they don't want to listen to the fact that we're on your side. We don't want you to suffer.
Right? Like, we all live in the same country. Yes. We want the country to work for everyone. And it feels a lot like telling a kid, hey, don't touch the hot stove. And MAGA, they just gotta touch the stove. And the problem is, it's not just gonna hurt them, it's gonna hurt everyone. And so as a country, we gotta come together and be able to say, this movement is dangerous. Like, this is dangerous to the American way of life. It is dangerous to who we are as Americans. And we have to find some way to stop it, because if we don't, whatever America is, it's no longer going to exist. Like, it's going to be something way different. It's going to be way worse.
Strong countries have fallen. I mean, that is something that history has taught us. And we are going down that path. I mean, this was your whole point about the Huntington Beach City Council, is you're saying this is exactly what happened in Germany in the 1930s. And if we don't stop it now, we just are only asking to repeat it. And I don't know how you get out of it. You yourself, though, with this whole last week, you've gotten a lot more visibility. I imagine you've had a lot of people checking in with you and complimenting you and praising you for what you've done. talk a little bit about some of the things that you've learned, just kind of you're paying attention to now, and how that can help the average listener right now who's saying, this is crazy. How do you fight back against this level of insanity?
Right. So I have had a lot of people ask me that. And one of the very first things I tell them is, get active in your local community, right? Like you don't have to attend every city council meeting, but attend some of them and start to learn, okay, who are the people there, who are the regulars that, you can build community around, because that's effectively where our power is realizing is that there are a lot more people like us out there than want this MAGA agenda. The only problem is we got to find them, right? And the only way you find them is by showing up at the places where people are doing the work. And again, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to attend every protest. You don't have to do 100% boycott. Like you don't have to attend every city council meeting. You just have to start, and then start doing something. Like, say you shop at Target and you're angry at the fact that they got rid of their DEI initiatives. You don't have to completely stop shopping at Target, but maybe cut down your purchases, from 100% there to like 80% there, right? They'll feel that on their bottom line. Like if everyone cuts 20% spending at Target, believe me, they will absolutely, like the bean counters in the back will be like, hold up, there's something really wrong here. So yeah, it's making those local connections, finding out who your local community is, and then working together to try to make things better in your area. And then for the bigger picture stuff, connecting with other local communities. The Tesla takedowns are a great example of that, right?
Yeah.
Like this is a pure grassroots movement spreading across our entire country and across other countries as well, saying, you know what? Elon Musk is trying to be a dictator, but pretty much all of his wealth is propped up on Tesla. Let's take down Tesla. And it's easy for people to understand, right? Like knock out that cornerstone of his empire and all the house of cards topples. So yeah, just get involved in your local communities, talk to people, just make sure, you're prepared.
And you bring up that's one of the best points. I always tell people this too. You're far more affected by your city council, your planning and zoning committee, your water management committee, your school boards. Those are going to affect you on your day-to-day basis more often than anything that happens on the federal level, although they're trying to make that a little bit more of a difference. So being involved there, trust me, that's going to affect you on a better scale, knowing what's going on your day-to-day basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's what the right wing did. Like that's what they did for the past 15, 20 years. They started taking over school boards. They started taking over local city councils. And then once they had the power, they started implementing their agenda. And so we got to do the same. Like, it's tough work. It's boring work. Those council meetings should be boring. Like they shouldn't be like the one that I attended. But yeah, we got to put in the work if we want to save the country.
Chris Kluwe, once again, follow you. Blue Sky is where you're mainly at right now, right?
Correct. Yes. At Chris Warcraft on Blue Sky.
Chris Warcraft at Blue Sky. All my best. You get an update anytime you need some time, my friend. You're always welcome on this show. Come on back. We'll give everyone the update on this, and all my best with both the school issue and the Huntington Beach City Council stuff, because once again, I'm 1,000% on your side, my friend.
Well, thank you, Matt. And I really appreciate you having me on again.
My pleasure. Chris Kluwe is kind enough to join us. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Talk a little bit more about what happened in the Oval Office when we do come on back. You're listening to the Matt McNeil Show here on your Friday.
It's funny, but honey, can't run the show on your own. I can feel my body shake.
I love the Toyota Sienna Hybrid from Rudy Luther Toyota. Safe, roomy, comfortable, and insanely fuel efficient. One thing I haven't mentioned is how good the Sienna is at winter driving. We just had a snowstorm, and my Sienna handled the ice and snow no problem. From getting through the plow pile at the end of the driveway to safely navigating the snow-covered highways, the Sienna is designed to give you a comfortable, safe drive. When winter weather hits, I give myself extra time, but with Sienna's handling and heated seats, extra time is great. Test drive a Sienna today at Rudy Luther Toyota, 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
Tune in this Saturday morning right here on AM 950 for the kickoff to Season 9 of the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show from 7 to 8 a.m. We'll be discussing some gimmicks that you might be seeing at your garden center, as well as bad seed starting ideals. Our guest is author Stacy Tornio, and we'll answer your garden questions. That's all this Saturday morning from 7 to 8 a.m. right here on AM 950. Tell a friend and let's grow together.
Greg Bakken here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com.
Hey, AM 950 listeners, this is John Parker of The Daily Show, and we're having a riot Monday through Saturday at 2 p.m., talking with Minnesota's political leaders, as well as educators, healthcare providers, authors, and theater makers about progressive news and politics. Where else can you get White House correspondent for the Washington Blade, Christopher Kane, queer film reviews, and compassionate, honest talk to uplift Minnesota's LGBTQ and allied community? Join the conversation on The Daily Show Monday through Saturday at 2 p.m. and everywhere you get your podcasts.
Progressive change doesn't just happen. It takes dedication and a lot of hard work. 25 years ago, the DataBank pioneered a new generation of software tools for progressive organizations here in Minnesota. Since then, thousands of organizations have used the DataBank to create progressive change. Today, the DataBank continues to help progressive organizations like AM 950. To have the DataBank help your organization build capacity and create more change, text CHANGE to 612-540-0500 or go to thedatabank.com. The DataBank, a quarter century of dedication and hard work for progressive organizations.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. We have families waiting for a car. You know, over 85% of unemployed are successful in finding and keeping a job if they have dependable transportation. A car plus a job equals a life changed. 612-919-5526. We have families waiting for a car. 919-5526 or autotech.org.
Chris freaking Cluey, man. Dude. I've talked to that guy now twice in 2 weeks. That's a nice get. What would Chris Cluey do? That's what we can we get the WWCKD on our little wristband there?
Doesn't have a good flow to it, unfortunately.
WWCKD. Sounds like a West or an East Coast radio station.
Playing the latest classic hits and oldies.
It's your favorite polka songs playing all night here. I know I'm going to just stop. I'm just going to stop. This is the craziest effing day, man. Okay. This is, by the way, I am reading the stunning amount of people. Not just, the Democrats, obviously. All the old school Reagan-esque diplomats are furious at Trump right now. All of our allies seem to be putting out press releases about how dare he do this. And the thing which is funny is if you step back from what happened there, Zelensky really did smack it. He did what you should do, what Harris did at that one debate. You step back and let them embarrass themselves. Like I said, this was a setup. My guess would be, and I started the show off with this, my guess would be is Zelensky got to the White House, they put the peace deal in front of him. It wasn't the deal that they discussed, probably did not have European Union peacekeepers on the ground in Ukraine, something that Vladimir Putin does not want. And once again, there's no doubt at this point, Trump is taking his direct command orders from Vladimir Putin. That is undeniable. Undeniable that the president of the United States is taking commands from Putin. Unbelievable. But when Zelensky says no, they say, all right, let's go with plan B. And they bring J.D. Vance, who has been the appendix of this administration. Useless and never seen unless it basically screws up. The appendix. That nickname's not going away. I can just JD Appendix Vance. He shows up out of the blue, and like I said, watch him when the clown car idiot Marjorie Taylor Greene abuse doll, because that's the only thing I can think of having sex with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh God, make like a conjugal visit on a Bunch of broken glass. Oh, God. You just gotta. The only thing I can do is laugh at this point because this is terrifying. But the boyfriend of Marjorie Taylor Greene goes out there and starts, "Why aren't you wearing a nice suit?" And God, he was so proud of himself, the mess he just made in his diaper. I mean, he was, "You look at me, man. Where's your suit?" Dude, I mean, just a quick little funny story about this. There was I have a friends that work up here for Target headquarters, and years ago, it was a Steinhaus, or I can't remember the name. Steinhoffel was the guy that took over Target. And Target used to have this kind of casual, look, outfit. You didn't have to wear a suit and tie every day. If you needed to, wear it. But if you didn't have to, you could get away with business casual, that sort of thing. And the guy comes in and he's like, "We are a professional business environment. You need to wear a suit and tie every day." And okay, just so you, and then basically the guys that scream you have to do that are the ones that want to basically sit down and look down at you because you don't have a nice enough suit as they do. It's that kind of thing. It really is kind of sad, especially in this day and age where the idea of a suit with a tie is kind of becoming more and more passé. Don't get me wrong. There's a time and a place for it, but you don't use it. But I mean, this is that douchey country club, he goes to church. He's wearing Dockers to work. Like it's how dare you disrespect me by not wearing a suit that I cannot look down at you because it's not as nice as my suit. Seriously. That is just douchey for douchey's sake. But this is what was asked of the president of Ukraine in the Oval Office. And watch J.D. Vance can't stop laughing. God. This is one of those days. I mean, we remember stuff like 9/11. We remember stuff like Pearl Harbor. We remember things like that. Major days where life somewhat changed afterwards. This wasn't a tragedy of lives lost in the sense being of a 9/11 or a D-Day. But history books are going to spend entire chapters on the pre-Zelensky Oval Office meeting and then the America post-Zelensky Oval Office. That the world hates us right now. And you can sit there and say, well, we don't need them. Actually, we do. We really, really, really do. We need their steel. We need their potash. We need their food. We need their things. And now we have basically told them, you know what? Go on your own. Give it a shot. See if you really need the United States. They're going to call Trump's bluff because Trump just basically made it. He showed the world that the United States is being run by a narcissistic toddler and his appendix. And conjugal visit MGT. Agree, MTJ. Oh, God. Seriously, this is a bad day, people. This is a bad, bad day. And I'm embarrassed right now. I'm embarrassed for our country, and I'm embarrassed that man represents America. I am embarrassed. Chicago, Seattle, have a good weekend. We'll be back on Monday. Minneapolis, St. Paul, Hour 2 up next.
The Minneapolis Institute of Art will be presenting Giants, art from the Dean Collection of Swizz Beatz and Alicia Keys from March 8th through July 13th. On Friday, March 7th at 8 o'clock, join Mia and fellow art enthusiasts, tastemakers, and community members during an after-hours party in the gallery celebrating the opening of the Giants exhibition. Be the first to see pieces from this collection, highlighting nearly 100 works by significant Black artists, including Gordon Parks, Jean-Michel Basquiat, Lorna Simpson, Amy Sherald, and more. In addition to early access, guests will enjoy musical entertainment, light bites, and a cash bar featuring specialty cocktails. This MIA event is 21 plus, and you can find tickets at artsmia.org. That's artsmia.org. It's anticipated that this event will sell out quickly, so make your plans today. Tune in this week for your chance to win tickets right here on AM 950 on The Matt McNeil Show, Monday through Friday between 3 and 5 p.m.
I'm standing up for the middle class. Tom Hartman here on the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, AM 950, KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
AP News, I'm Mike Hempen. AP Washington correspondent Sagar Magani reports on reaction to the Oval Office showdown.
America's relationship with Ukraine is in doubt after today's Oval Office blow-up. They were supposed to eat lunch, but uneaten plates of salad and other food items were being packed up outside the cabinet room after Volodymyr Zelensky left the White House following the tense meeting with President Trump.
Complete, utter disaster.
GOP Senator Lindsey Graham says Zelensky's behavior was disrespectful.
And I don't know if we can ever do business with Zelensky again.
Some other Republicans worry about a blow to diplomacy and foreign policy. Democrat Chris Murphy calls the meeting a planned ambush designed to embarrass Zelensky and benefit Vladimir Putin.
Donald Trump,
while Russian state TV hailed the showdown as Trump disciplining Zelensky, European leaders were quick in supporting Ukraine. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Texas health officials say the number of people with measles has increased to 146 in rural West Texas. This week's outbreak led to the death of a school-age child who was not vaccinated. The Texas Department of State Health Services says the number of cases in the outbreak had increased by 22 since Tuesday. Ongoing tariff threats from Washington and potentially sweeping government job cuts have darkened consumers' mood. The Commerce Department says consumers slashed their spending by 0.2% in January from December, the most since February 2021, even as their incomes rose. A school bus driver has safely evacuated 15 students after the vehicle caught fire while headed to a school in a Cleveland suburb. The driver was able to get the children out moments before the bus became engulfed in flames. This is AP News.
Robinhood Gold members can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on annual retirement contributions. With Robinhood Gold, the perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive a 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
Progressive knows finding your new home was a dream come true. You wanted a colonial with high ceilings, hardwood floors, and a peaceful neighborhood. And you found it. Now, every Saturday at 6 a.m., you get to wake to the sound of your neighbor's leaf blower. Progressive can't save you from your noisy neighbors, but we can save you money when you bundle your home and auto with us. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers.
Do you remember that invincible feeling you used to have? The boundless energy, the clarity of mind, the effort with which you faced every challenge? What if you could feel that again? If you ever took a biology class and heard the term mitochondria, this is the powerhouse of each of your body's cells, and this is where energy is created to do all the things we do. The demands of modern life, such as stress, aging, and environmental toxins, decrease our mitochondrial function, and we experience things like decreased energy, brain fog, and we generally feel exhausted. At Hypercharge Wellness Centers, our treatments offer gateways to rediscover your lost essence, to feel alive, invigorated, and whole once more. Call or go online to schedule your free introductory session valued at $200 today. This is your opportunity to feel the difference for yourself. No matter where you are in the Twin Cities, there is a convenient location near you. Visit hyperchargeclinic.com now. That's hyperchargeclinic.com. Hypercharge is hope.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care.
It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly sunny skies today with a temp falling to 33. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 14. And Saturday, sunny with a high near 29. Discover perfection at Maverick's Real Roast Beef in Roseville. From Philly steak to crispy chicken, every bite is exceptional. Add freshly fried fries or rings for a winning combo. Visit mavericksbeef.com or find them off Lexington and Roseville. Unforgettable sandwiches. Maverick's Real Roast Beef.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of Going to Hell in a Handbasket. It's the Matt McNeil Show. As the country burns. Oh, boy. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. I do want to say I'm kind of excited. We're going to get away from politics, well, to a point. We're going to talk a little bit about him. Coming up here, Galen Lee and Kevin Kling. Kevin Kling, of course, we've had on the air before. I never had Galen Lee on before. They're going to be over at the Open Eye Theater. Invisible Fences is playing there March 6th to the 15th. We're going to talk about this because it sounds like an amazing play. It was sold out the last time they did this, and you only got 2 weeks. My math is correct there. You only got about 2 weeks to catch it at the Open Eye before, and that's probably going to be sold out again. We'll talk to them about the play. And the putting out there on theater, realistic and important issues for the disabled, which I think is incredibly important. And this play sounds amazing, by the way. It does sound amazing. We're going to talk about that, but then I might actually ask them a little bit, considering that in the last 2 months we have had a country which seems to be going, as far as trying to find ways to cut costs to give billionaires and millionaires tax cuts. They're eyeing funding that goes to the disabled, whether through Medicaid or Medicare or anything else, Social Security, anything else. They're looking for ways that they can basically take that money and give it to millionaires and billionaires. And at the same time, there are people out there who are vilifying the disabled, and I think that that's horrible. So we're going to talk to them a little bit about that coming up here in about 25 minutes from right now. Brett, how are we today?
Well, as you said, it's a tough day with what's happening at the White House. I mean, I went back and watched some of that video since I only seen the text, and it's just shocking how
bad it is.
What a toddler that guy is.
It's clearly a setup. It was. Would you agree with that? It was clearly a setup.
On the whole, hey, you wore a suit today.
Yeah, watch Vance when he asked that. Watch him sit and chuckle like that guy was there to ask that question to put Zelensky off kilter, so that when they eventually went after him, that he would be easier to boss around. So no, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. And Lindsey Graham, what the hell happened to that guy? Mr. Foreign Policy when John McCain was around. Now all of a sudden is like, why we need to be doing what Vladimir Putin wants us to do. I mean, I mean, how do you consider Zelensky to be disrespectful when all he was trying to do was answer the questions that you guys were constantly interrupting him, screaming at him as you constantly interrupted him, and would say like 8 questions. He said, okay, you've asked about 8 things. Let me go back to the beginning here. It's like, no, we're not going to let you. I mean, it was just, like I said, it was Cobra Kai going after, after the Karate Kid, man. That's all it was. I should mention the Twins had I'm only going to mention 2 things really. You can enjoy this. What was with Ant chucking the basketball into the crowd with the Lakers last night? You know what was that about? Any idea?
Mad at a call, it looks like.
Well, I'm getting mad at a call too, and I guess someone got the best souvenir ever from a game. The Twins lost today, and now it is spring training, so we're not in panic mode quite yet. We were up by 5 runs. 5 runs in the 9th inning, and we lost 13-10. I don't think that pitcher is going to make the major league roster. I'm going to take a shot here.
Yeah, a little callback. Was it Colomé that was back out there?
Colomé went to get Instead of going with column A, I'll go with column B. No, the column A, it wasn't him. It was Jasinski or Stanisinski or, hey, I can't pitch. I think that was.
Or, hey, I'm not going to be on the team anymore. Yeah.
2/3 of an inning, 6 earned runs. That's not good. The concept here is not crooked. Just about 952-946-6205. So let's get to, we don't have to just look at the federal government on fire. There's a lot of bad things going on around the state of Minnesota, too. Let's dive right on into that, shall we? A group of Red Wing high school students is planning a walkout today in response to the school district's cancellation of the Black History Month assembly featuring a Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. Amari Williams, a junior and president of the school's Black Student Union, said she and other students were outraged by the school's decision, which was announced on Wednesday afternoon. We're extremely upset, Williams said. Not only was it the end of the month, they took away the Black Student Union's opportunity to celebrate Black History Month. Not a good idea, Red Wing. Ellison was set to speak during an event to celebrate historic achievements in Black leaders. By the way, what a nice get for the Red Wing School District. The Attorney General is taking time out of his day to come down and talk to the students. That's a nice get, man. The Democratic Attorney General has been in the headlines in recent days as his office pushed back against directives from the new administration of Trump on topics ranging from immigrant deportation and transgender athletes. The Red Wing Superintendent, Bob Jaszczak Smith. Bob Smith, I don't think that's Smith, but I'll go with it, announced the cancellation in a letter to parents and faculty. He wrote that the decision was due to concerns over significant disruptions without further explanation or elaboration. The district declined to say on Thursday to provide further details about the nature of the possible disruptions. The superintendent is standing by what what he sent out in his email, said district spokesperson Annie Robertson. Ellison's spokesperson declined to comment. The student walkout was planned for this morning. Williams said she was not told by Ellison's visit was canceled, but she said she had heard the protest was organized by people opposed to the planned appearance. On Wednesday, Robinson said the district's Black History Month program this year included hosting a Black Student Union conference with students from other districts, along with other daily lessons and field trips to learn about local Black history figures. After getting the emailed statement from the superintendent, Red Wing school parent Amber Plank called Smith, not really his name, to convey her frustration. She recorded the call in which Smith declined to tell Plank why the decision was made, but said it was not easy. We fully understand the optics that are not anything we want and would have happened. We definitely need the support of all students and students of color across the board, he says in the call, which leads me to believe this is hey, white people are upset, so we got to stop this. Now, I'm going to say this to the Red Wing School District, and I want to, because I've thought about this a little bit. Now, if the students, you had students saying and I'm going to presume white students, and this might be the reason why he's terrified of talking about it, because he doesn't want to make it sound like there's a race war getting ready to implode in Red Wing. But if it was, say, white students, if this was white students who had said, we're going to protest Keith Ellison being here, I am going to stand by the school district's right to keep those names and what happened quiet, because you do not want this to necessarily go against the students. And I say that once again, this was a student thing, because even though some students might have been ignorant about what was going on, or because mom or dad told me to protest Keith Ellison, that they're still students. And they didn't commit any crimes. They didn't do any of this. They let their opinions be voiced. Although if this was the case, I disagree with those opinions. It still is an internal school matter dealing with students. Okay. But if this was a parent or just someone from the community, you don't need to cover for them in any capacity. If parents or grown adults who are not teachers or students in the Red Wing School District were threatening to come by and protest to Keith Ellison and try to shut down his speech and get him to run out of the school. If that's what it was case, you defending that by allowing their anonymity to take place, I don't think that that's your job, Red Wing School District. As a matter of fact, if you are in the school district of Red Wing, I would file a Freedom of Information request to find out if this was, because they can't fulfill it if it was a student thing. But if it's just some angry white parent, I don't like him, mega. Same people who screamed, how dare the federal government intrude on our state's rights, are now, how dare the state not do exactly what the federal government tells them to do? That sort of a guy. There is no requirement by you to keep their privacy. And as a matter of fact, the school district is indeed taking a side if this is non-students and they're going out of their way to prevent the parents or just regular members of the community who are threatening the school district. You're going out of your way to protect them. That is not your job. But it doesn't end there, because there was another one. St. Paul High School field trip set for Thursday was canceled this week after a federal civil rights complaint alleged it discriminated against white students, for God's sakes, by being tailored specifically to students of color. Tailored, not exclusive. And that's a difference. The event, offering exposure to digital marketing and advertising careers, violated title. It was said, this is Mark Perry, a retired professor who's taken aims at such missteps, said this violated Title VI of the Federal Civil Rights Act and the district's own anti-discrimination policy. Just as it would be illegal and objectionable for Highland Park Senior High School to offer a field trip that explicitly excludes students of color, it is equally illegal and questionable to host a racially segregated field trip exclusively for students of color. Was it, though? Because that's the one thing I'm having a hard time trying to track down. Yes, here's what I will say. If the school district had this and said, hey, this is an opportunity for people of color to learn more about about what was it, the marketing and digital marketing and advertising careers. This is a field trip to help learn about digital marketing and advertising careers for Black students there, but anyone who wants to can attend. Okay. That's not violating anyone's rights. If you did say, if the St. Paul High School did say specifically that white kids were excluded, well, you want to know the truth, there is actually a legitimate argument there. That is, you can't do stuff like that, but it's not very clear on whether or not that was the case. As a matter of fact, from the press release, from the news story, it doesn't sound like that was ever the standard there. So I don't know why. Is it just you don't want to spend money on a lawyer? I don't know why, but this doesn't seem like it's a violation, because it doesn't sound like at any point anyone said this is exclusively for students of color. And as a matter of fact, even it was the civil rights complaint against the discrimination for being tailored specifically. Well, they can tailor stuff to anyone they want to. There's going to be a St. Patrick's Day event probably in a lot of schools that's geared towards the Irish in those schools. I don't know if this guy's going to be too much upset about that, though. Well, I mean, he might. I don't know. Just as it would be illegal and objectionable, that you can't do this. You can't do this just for students of color. Principal Winston Tucker said the agency set to host the event. Tucker informed Perry later that day that the Brand Lab, the nonprofit organization sponsoring the field trip, was canceling the event. Perry, who's a senior fellow with the group's Do No Harm and Equal Protection Project, and by the way, I'll get to EPP in a second here, who lives in Mendota Heights, previously called out the district for its plans this summer for a St. Paul Public Schools Girls in Science learning program, since changed to Kids in Science. Okay, so the question here is this. is it violating anyone's rights by having a girls in science event that anyone can attend, or a, black students for digital marketing, digital advertising, but anyone can attend? Is that a violation? Because I don't think that's a violation. If they are, once again, if they're saying no, that, girls in science are, that's not going to be allowed. That no boys are going to be allowed in there. Well, you can't really do that. Doesn't mean boys are going to show up in force. It just means it's a girls in science event. Anyone is welcome, though. I don't think there's a violation of the law there. In his letter to Tucker, Perry described himself as a full-time civil rights activist who has successfully filed nearly 1,000 federal civil rights complaints against many hundreds of U.S. colleges, blah, 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 blah. He files a complaint this week at the U.S. Department of Education's office at Civil Rights in Chicago. He now plans to withdraw it once the case number for the complaint is assigned. He wrote an email. The event being canceled was the basis for the complaint, so it no longer exists. Erica Wacker, a spokesperson for the St. Paul Public Schools, said Thursday the district takes care to follow its anti-discrimination policy. For example, she said National African American Parent Involvement Day is designed for a specific group of people, but it's open to anyone. If mistakes were made, they typically occur when an outside partner is involved, she said. In a statement, Brand Lab said it's committed to inclusivity in marketing and advertising, truly representing the world we live in, and has been working with the high school to set up the new date by the year's end. So once again, you can say it's, women in science, but everyone's welcome to come. I don't know if that's necessarily violating Title VI. If you say only women can come, yes, it does. And I've looked, it doesn't seem like this was exclusive, that this was white kids not welcome. Now, this group, I looked at their page, one of the pages, they have this line here. Our guiding principle is that there is no good form of racism. The remedy for racism never is more racism. Okay. But do you believe in addressing the consequences of the original racism? Because I would make an argument that unless you're dealing with the consequences of the original racism, Whitey, that you're not really going to be able to address anyone else. You can't just ignore the original racism. At least that's my impression. You can't just ignore the original racism. Also, does this group, there are plenty of places that have Christian-only clubs. I know schools that have that Christian-only clubs, or, if there is a whites-only club, or if there is are they out there filing lawsuits to make sure transgender girls can play on sports teams? Because that would seem to be, there's some elements there. I don't get the impression from the page, looking at your websites, that you're filing too many of those lawsuits, even though they're there. It seems like the only point is if it somehow violates, this is just the impression I got from looking at the websites. If it is something that offends a white, straight, male, Christian boy, then it needs to be stopped. And I don't see a lot of, and maybe you are, maybe I'll get emailed some case studies saying, nope, this was the case, we did this. But one, I'm not sure if this school violated that, if everyone was welcome to go. Just by labeling it something doesn't mean other people are excluded from it. The other side of it is, are you as aggressively going after pro-white groups, pro-Christian groups, anti-LGBTQIA groups as you are stopping girls in science and a Black History Month event there? Are you? I don't know. I'm asking the question because it didn't seem like it when I was looking at your websites. It didn't seem like those issues mattered. It's the second racism that you seem to be more informed with, not the original racism. And to a point, I agree. Racism is never served by more racism. But are we going to address the original racism, or do we just have to give that racism a mulligan and only get our stern wagon fingers out for the secondary racism? Or just perceived racism? Because I don't know if it's racism to have a girls in science event where anyone can attend, or misogynistic or sexist to have that if everyone can attend. It seems like you're just more offended by a name than anything else. That's at least how it appears to me. 952-946-6205. Take a quick break. Come on back. It's the Matt McNeil Show here on your Friday.
Hey, it's Tom. Minnesotans take pride in protecting their lakes, trees, and natural beauty. And now you have a chance to do even more. The state is committed to 100% renewable energy by 2040. And by switching to all energy solar, you can help make that goal a reality. Solar works in Minnesota year-round. It runs on sunlight, not heat. So even in the winter, you're generating clean energy. And for over 15 years, All Energy Solar has been helping Minnesotans make the move to affordable, renewable power. Now is the time to act. Some federal rebates could disappear with changes in the federal government, so don't wait and miss out. Get with a trusted, award-winning company. All Energy Solar was named Minnesota's best gold winner in 2024 and recognized as a top solar contractor by Solar Power World. The future is renewable. The choice is yours. Stop paying the utility company and start producing your own clean energy with All Energy Solar. Get a free consultation today at allenergysolar.com.
This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, weekdays at 5 p.m. On our show, you'll hear about Native issues like treaties, protecting Mother Earth, and holding our elected officials accountable. Weekly correspondents like Dr. Stately, State Senator Mary Kunesh, Robert Lilligren, and Bob Blake update us with the latest news from Turtle Island. Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues. Listen weekdays at 5 p.m. or watch the show on Native Roots Radio social media accounts. Ho-wah!
Progressive change doesn't just happen. It takes dedication and a lot of hard work. 25 years ago, the data bank pioneered a new generation of software tools for progressive organizations here in Minnesota. Since then, thousands of organizations have used the data bank to create progressive change. Today, the data bank continues to help progressive organizations like AM 950. To have the data bank help your organization build capacity and create more change, text CHANGE to 612-540-0500 or go to thedatabank.com. The Data Bank, a quarter century of dedication and hard work for progressive organizations.
Hello, everyone. I am Becky McNatten along with Tara Martini, host of Feels Out Loud, brought to you by Becoming Together Therapy and Wellness. This Sunday, tune in as we talk through the 5 languages of anger and how these show up in relationships.
And if you have a question about anger, visit our website at www.becomingtogethermn.com or email us at contact@becomingtogethermn.com. We may share your questions on the show. So join us at 9 a.m. to live and share mental health together.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. One quick little story I want to jump on here before we get our guests in here after the next break. About 385 employees, 385 people will be laid off from Arctic Cat snowmobile plant in Thief River Falls during the month of May, according to a WARN worker adjustment retaining notification letter shared by the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development. This is the latest round of layoffs following another announcement in 2024 where 65 people were laid off when the company suspended snowmobile production after completing the 25 model year. The WARN letter from the state said of the permanent layoffs that will begin on May 8th through May 22nd. The 385 workers are currently employed at the Arctic Cats facility in Thief River Falls. That's not a big town. That's going to be a big hit. The WARN letter adds that the employees are not represented by a union and bumping rights do not exist. The positions being axed include engineers, technicians, truck drivers, welders, machine operators, and several others. They initially said in 2024 that they only plan to furlough many of its hourly production employees until production resumes sometime in early 2025. The latest announcement shows the furloughs are permanent, with other employee positions also being cut. Climate change. You don't have the snow we used to. Okay. A snowmobile still in Minnesota is like a motorcycle. It's a bit of a luxury item. You can't use it for half the year, but you could use a snowmobile at one point for 5 months of the year. Now you can use it for 1.5, maybe 2. And sure, we could have a year next year or the year after where we have a snow cover from mid-November all the way until mid to late March. We could. I doubt it. The way we get these 50-degree days that come in here and melt everything down, at the very best you can hope for is enough snow cover north of the Mille Lacs line up into the range. But even there, it's not as reliable as it used to be. You're just not getting the snow. This is, I feel sorry for the folks at Arctic Cat because this is nothing they did. It just, you're trying to sell a boat in the desert at this point. And I don't know how you get around this. Maybe you move your business to Canada. I don't know, but I think the days of people owning snowmobiles in Minnesota as fun wintertime event, recreational vehicles, I think it's limited considering that they're probably going to have a year, and we almost did last year. We're probably going to have a year within the next 20 years where we don't even have any snow at all in the Twin Cities. I feel sorry. That is a lot of jobs for a town the size of Thief River Falls to try to have to absorb. And I don't know if they'll be able to. That's not going to just affect the Arctic Cat. That's going to affect a lot of other businesses in Thief River Falls. Yikes. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. When we do return, Galen Lee and Kevin Kling are going to join us. Invisible Fences is going to be over at the Open Eye Theater. We'll talk to them about that and some other things as well. It is the Matt McNeil Show here on your Friday.
In a galaxy not so far away, the battle for truth rages on. Smart Wars is a solo exhibition by Rory Wakemup, a Minnesota Chippewa artist who flips the script on Star Wars using humor and regalia. Wakemup challenges colonial narratives and reclaims indigenous values of balance, resilience, and environmental activism. This exhibition runs February 27th through April 5th at All My Relations Arts in Minneapolis. More information at allmyrelationsarts.org.
Hey, it's Patrick. February is the month for love, so when was the last time you gave your carpet the love and attention it deserves? Have you gotten down on your hands and knees and adored how clean and refreshed it was, or are you scared of what you might see or smell? Not only is your carpet one of the biggest investments in your home, but it's also the biggest air filter in your home. If your carpet hasn't been professionally cleaned, you are breathing unhealthy levels of nasty dirt, dander, bacteria, and germs that keep recirculating again and again and again. But lucky for you, my friends at Zero Res are going to spread the love to you and your home with their Love Your Rug special. Get 3 rooms Zero Resified starting for just $119 and get a 4th room free. But don't forget dirt and dander's favorite hiding place either, your air ducts. This month, take $75 off any air duct cleaning. Call Zero Res right now, 952-ZERO-RES, or go online to ZeroResMinnesota.com and say you want the AM 950 special. Back order forward, it spells the same, Zero Res.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for partly sunny skies today with a temp falling to 33. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 14. And Saturday, sunny with a high near 29. Discover perfection at Maverick's Real Roast Beef in Roseville. From Philly steak to crispy chicken, every bite is exceptional. Add freshly fried fries or rings for a winning combo. Visit mavericksbeef.com or find them off Lexington and Roseville. Unforgettable sandwiches. Maverick's Real Roast Beef.
It is the Matt McNeil Show. Coming to the Open Eye Theater on March 6th through the 15th is Invisible Fences, created and performed by Galen Lee and Kevin Kling. They combine their talents in an original musical fable which weaves together storytelling and song to create a unique theatrical experience celebrating disability culture. They're kind enough today, both of them are kind enough today to join us to talk about the production that's coming up here starting on the 6th. Hello, thank you very much, guys, for joining me.
Hey, Matt. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. My pleasure. My absolute pleasure. And Kevin, welcome. I'm back. I've talked to you a few times now. It's nice to it's always nice to check back in with you, my friend.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, it's always so fun, man. This is great.
So this is actually, if I understand correctly, you guys did this play in 2023 and it sold out, correct?
Yeah.
Before it opened, it was sold out.
Yeah.
Well, and have you guys done this locally here, at least in the Twin Cities, since that time?
No, we performed it up in Duluth last November.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the third time.
Third time. I'm so obviously, once again, I'll just say this now to get it out. Once again, the Open Eye Theater. It is starting on March 6th to the 15th. Invisible Fences. I will put a link out to that because obviously people that are listening want to get tickets to this. And talk a little bit about the production because this obviously a celebration of a disabled culture. I think that's a wonderful concept, and I imagine it's a wonderful, warm, and happy. It's something we need nowadays. Wonderful, warm, and happy things.
Yeah.
It's got to be a lovely little production that way.
Yeah, it is. It's basically a fable, and so it's kind of like the disability culture meets the ability culture halfway. And I play a grasshopper, and Galen plays what's called a largroff, and I'll let her explain what that is.
Okay.
Yeah, we were talking about if we were another creature, what would we be, right? Like if we were going to make a fable, what would we be? And I've always felt like kindred spirit with this made up thing. My husband and I joke about it, like a green thing with horns that lives underneath the roots of a tree, and it sweeps in and likes food and music and just kind of like hangs out in the woods. And so we made the Largroff, my character, a green platypus who can't swim, but she has wings. And it's very, very heartwarming, but it really serves a purpose because we wanted to make a fable, or actually what we wanted to do originally was have Kevin tell fables with disability related themes. And then I would play music that related to his story. But the more we delved into the history of fables about disability, they're all pretty bad. Like the messaging is not good. And we were like, I think we need to make something that hasn't been made yet, you know? And so that's where we ended up making this whole play as kind of to fill in the gaps. There weren't a lot of empowering stories about disability told throughout the ages. And so we wanted to make a new one.
And it should be mentioned, how long did it take you? Because this is your own production. You guys created this. This is your baby. How long from that moment you said we need to do this on our own did it take you to get the final production?
7 months.
Yeah, about 7 months. We started working on Zoom because Galen lives up in Duluth and I'm down here. So we started Zooming back and forth, and the play came together really fast. Somehow we kind of had a linked up mind somehow, and it came together super fast. We had a really fun time writing it, which is a really good sign. And then, we put it together in like 10 days, and it just took off like a rocket. People have been responding so well, and I'm so glad you said what you said, Matt, about it feels like a tonic for the times. People will leave with their hearts. You know, you don't have to solve the world's problems for a couple hours, you know. You can just come and realize what a beautiful thing it is to be a human. We're not all that as bad as we probably really are, but we come across pretty good in this one.
Well, and what is fun about the disability culture part is not only can any average person walk off the street and come watch the show, but we intentionally made it very accessible. So there's captions above the stage. It kind of makes it a storybook feel. There's ASL at every performance. And then the narrator who's also plays all the villains and all the music. So like I'm playing and singing with this guy playing guitar who also narrates. The narrator's there to describe what's happening on stage to people who are blind, but you wouldn't know it. Like you'd go to the show and you'd think, oh, how fun, that narrator was a fun addition, but he has a purpose to make the show accessible to literally, I honestly believe, I even had a friend who is deaf and blind read the script and said, please tell me if there's anything you don't understand. She had a Braille machine and she was reading it and she's like, no, I got it. And I was like, what? This is amazing. So I think it really is accessible, which is part of disability culture, like creating something that speaks about universal human truths, but then also doesn't exclude anyone.
Yeah. And so don't worry, if you're able-bodied, you'll get it.
You will get it, yes. But yeah, it literally is for everyone to enjoy.
Galen, talk about the music then. I mean, so you're putting together music. I mean, I know, Kevin, of how much you wrote of that, but I mean, talk about the process there, because once you get, I mean, from the people I've talked to that have done plays and stuff like this, especially you're bringing in music and might not necessarily be a full-fledged musical, trying to get that music to click in sometimes is a little complicated. How is it for you?
Yeah, what we did for this show is we actually used songs I had already written and placed them throughout. So Kevin and I co-wrote the script. We had a Google Doc and we went in together and we wrote the script together, but we had always planned on using my songs, but they placed the places we placed them really feel like they're meant to be there. It kind of, everything about the show ended up feeling kind of magical.
Yeah.
It fits.
I remember reading about when you write a musical, you put the songs where somebody is so moved they have to sing. It's like words just aren't going to do it. You gotta sing when you edit. You're so in love that you burst into song. And so we tried to place Galen's incredible, beautiful music at places where it's just like the Largroff just can't help it. She's got to let one fly. And so off she goes into these beautiful songs. And yeah, and she's joined with Jeremy Ilvasacker. And if you're a Twin Cities music fan, you know he's royalty. And we really have great songs.
I obviously I want to touch on something here that's kind of going on right now, but I do want to mention really quick once again, the Open Eye Theater, Invisible Fences, March 6th to the 15th. Go see this. You want to go see this, and you want to get tickets now because I'm going to take a wild shot. This is going to sell out pretty quick.
One of the matinees sold out already, and it doesn't even open until next week. So
there you go. So you've been warned. I'll put the link on all the social media a little bit later on, but I would be remiss. I am a person. I'm 56 years old. I have grown up in an age where the disabled as presented in public has gone from a dark, ugly side to where we're at with you guys now, putting on a great play, great musical, happy, joy. It's society. There's not one side or the other side. You guys are just representing society and everyone can come and enjoy this. Yet we do have this movement in this country, and I'll say the political side. They want to find money to give tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires. So they're looking at all these programs, and one of the things they have to do is convince people to get rid of a program and give that money to a millionaire and billionaire. And sadly and unfortunately, a lot of people have focused on programs for the disabled, whether that's Medicaid or other programs, as these are places that can cut, and they've even started to vilify on some levels the needs of the disabled as something that we don't need to address. I would be remiss, and I don't want to overstep my bounds, but since I have two strong advocates for the disabled community here, would you care to comment, talk a little bit about what is going on right now in this country?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Galen is really good.
This is my bread and butter, so I'm glad we're talking about this. You know, I'm a disabled person. I was born with my disability. I've had it forever, but I don't think that applies just to people who are born with it. But if you need Medicaid, oftentimes Medicaid is the only program that will pay for personal care assistance. So, I mean, not oftentimes, it is literally the only program. So, for example, I need help showering in the morning, getting dressed, getting myself out the door, driving to work. Like, there's many things I need help with. But when I have that help, I can obviously do lots of things in our culture and our society. And also I live a life that feels extremely meaningful. And full of great relationships. And like my life is not a lesser than life, but I do need Medicaid to actually live that life. Without personal care help, I would have to live in a group home or a nursing home. Like, that's the real truth. And I'm a pretty like well-known artist in Minnesota. And so if you can imagine, like, people with like, there's just everybody in this boat of Medicaid is really afraid right now because it's their life link to the outer world. Like, and so I think what's happening is because Medicaid also serves elderly people who are lower income, it also serves children who are lower income, it serves lower income adults. And those are all very, very important. Like, I'm not trying to pit one group against another, but what I'm saying is disabled people do not have another option. There is no private plan or Medicare that will cover the services that I need. And so without those services, I happen to be on a special version of Medicaid. And this gets in the weeds, but it's important. Like, I'm on something called an expansion program. So I'm technically not low income. I pay for my Medicaid. Those expansion programs are on the chopping block 100%. Like, I'm the person who's going to be like, you know, like they might still fund at the end of the day the poorest of the poor disabled people, but they're not going to fund people like me unless people rise up. So in 2017, lots of disability activists got themselves arrested in their senators' offices and finally brought this conversation forward. So we're going to need to see that, but we also need people to just believe us. Like, Medicaid is important. It's not the right program to take money. I mean, especially not for tax breaks. I totally agree with you. Like, that's, you know, I really want to raise the awareness that Medicaid itself is an essential program to disabled people, and taking it away is going to render us completely segregated again. And it wasn't good. The 70s, people were living in institutions where they were being abused. They weren't able to hold jobs. We actually just this year hit the highest level of employment for disabled people ever in the history of this country. And now we're talking about an about face where we would be turning around and undoing a lot of that progress. So as an advocate, I can just like plead with you to please learn about the issue and like, do not put Medicaid on the docket. Call your representatives, call your senators. Like, that's a really important issue.
It is, and it's actually cost effective. I mean, you look at it, I mean, besides your heart, go to your head, and it's a money saver. Institutions or
nursing
group homes is twice to three times the cost. So, you know, look at your wallet and you'll be fine.
Well, and one of the things you brought up, and I'm glad you did, is that I don't want people turning this against each other. Yes, Medicaid funds healthcare for 50% of the kids in this country. It covers 40% of the births in this country, but it also helps the disabled. It's a program which works on every facet. Getting rid of it is just dumb. But I'll even go to something else. As you talk about the 70s, I grew up in the 70s. I remember the disabled kids all being in the mobile home behind the school. My kid's school, Hopkins, years ago, when my kids were young, they said, nope, this is done. You know, the disabled kids are in classes with the other kids, and that's just that. And it was a wonderful program. It was amazing. There was no stigma. It was getting torn down. These walls were there. And now programs like that through the education department might be cut. It is one of those things where it's just the short-sighted nature of this is insanity, because, as you said, the counterpoint is not only far more expensive, but it is far less humane than just keeping the programs we have right now, especially when it comes to tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, education's a big one. And then DEI is another one that people aren't addressing. Is accessibility is actually the fourth letter in that acronym, which is in the executive order. Accessibility is part of DEI. And so I believe you should make the workplace as welcoming as possible for everyone. Doesn't have to be an exclusionary thing. Welcoming is good, but in the terms of accessibility, we're talking about deaf people, for example, getting access to interpreters, or people like me getting modifications to their desks, like little things that keep people in the workforce that are accommodations, or hiring practices, like actually reaching out to the disability community and making sure that you're doing a good job of addressing diversifying in order to have disability. Ironically, a lot of the people getting cut in these federal programs on probation are disabled, because 30% of the federal workforce has disabilities, and they have twice as long of a probationary period because of the way that the law has been written for them to be hired. They get the job, but then they have to have a twice as long probation. So all of these things, like disability affects 26% of Americans on some level. And it's also just the humane right thing to do is to allow people with disabilities to live as full of lives as possible. But we do need that support from the government. We just do.
Caring and compassion are good things. And I was just talking about that yesterday as far as the layoffs with veterans. I mean, we're all in this together. We can't be letting the disabled go. We can't let the veterans go. We can't be doing this. We should be better for it. And frankly, the caring, compassionate, humane thing to do is keep this system in place. And so as Galen, you'd mentioned there, contact your senators, contact your representatives, contact everybody, and make sure they understand that this is not a path we want to go down to just to make sure wealthy people get more money.
No.
Yeah. I mean, there are reforms you could make, right? Like I can think of a few. Like I have to renew my health care every 6 months, even though like I have a permanent disability, but it's never going to go away. There's probably administrative costs you could save in administering Medicaid, but you need to have disabled people at the table. It's nothing about us without us, right, Kevin?
Oh, that's crucial, is that it's not just bringing us to the table, it's making a table we can all sit at. And I just remember the first time I walked in, I was hired in the 70s. I mean, I come back from the same time you do. But I came into the Minneapolis had just been awarded through the ADA. So it was the 80s. The ADA had just awarded like accessibility. We that was part of the city's program. So I came to the city, and there's all these different doors with transportation and healthcare and all these different doors. And down at the end of the hall, I heard all this laughing, and I went, "What room is that?" It was the room of disability. It was the room of accessibility. And I went, "Oh, thank God, I'm in the room where people are laughing." And it was just, that was the part I didn't expect, was the humor. And I mean, not to draw it back to the play, but the humor, the ability to laugh, the ability to, I think that humor has saved me so many times. And it is part of the, because when you're in disability, if you don't have a sense of irony, you're in big trouble, because you're going to be seeing the strangest stuff. And it is so important to be able to, when you laugh at something, it doesn't control you anymore. So our show is full of laughter. It's really important. Humor and tragedy are just such companions. They're the three-legged race.
Well, and let's face it, after a lot of the days we've had lately, it would be nice to have a smile for a few hours. And I think you are the remedy we need right now. But once again, I'm going to say this: they sold out the first run. What do you think is going to happen this time? Exactly. Open Eye Theater, Invisible Fences, March 6th through the 15th. They're going to sell out. So you want to call, you want to go get tickets and go see, of course, Galen Lee and Kevin Kling over there performing in Invisible Fences. Congratulations on bringing it back. I hope this is a regular thing. Let's keep fighting together, because all of us together, the Wellstone thing, equal tide raises all boats. And I'm all on board with that. Thank you very much, Galen and Kevin. Kevin, both of you guys, come back anytime you want. I'd love to have you back on the air.
Oh, thanks, man. I love what you're about, man. You're so great. Yeah.
Well, thank you. That's very nice. I will. And I look forward to seeing your show here coming up in the next few weeks. So thank you very much for the time. Let's take a break. We'll come back, wrap up the show for a Friday. It is the Matt McNeil Show here on AM 950.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Do you have a vehicle you no longer need? Are you a little cash strapped? Rudy Luther Toyota will pay you for your used vehicle. It's really simple. Head to rudyluthertoyota.com, answer a few simple questions, and Rudy Luther Toyota will get you an instant offer. Then they will set up an appointment, and after a quick verification, they will handle all the paperwork and coordinate getting you your check. It's that simple. It's a fast way for you to get rid of the vehicle you no longer need, putting money in your hands. For more information, head to rudyluthertoyota.com. That's rudyluthertoyota.com.
Hi, I'm Peter Solak.
And I'm Adam Ostrowski.
We are here at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces to talk about the joy of live fire cooking. Cooking over a live fire is the oldest and most basic form of cooking.
What's new is in the way fire is handled and its heat is managed.
It's easier to experience and enjoy the smell and taste of food cooked over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces sells and installs live fire grills, fire pits, and ovens. Let us help you experience the smell, the taste, the fun of cooking with fire.
Pizza was first made and is still best made in an open fire oven. The radiant and conductive heat of a live fire is unmatched for wood roasting and baking artisan breads too.
Come see the many ways you can cook over a live fire.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood and gas units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. More information at woodlandstoves.com. Find the fire that works for you. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Out of the ordinary products and services since 1977.
I would say, too, go see their show at Open Eye, Invisible Fences. I'd go see that. You want to smile. Guthrie Theater right now has got a Midsummer Night's Dream. That is happy and fun. Go see those. It will change your mind, at least for a day. I will. Especially after today. Can I just say, every European friend I've got, every single European friend I have got has sent me what in God's good earth happened there. And as much as Republicans are trying to scream at the top of their lungs, like, Zelensky was disrespectful. No, they were shouting at him, yelling at him, didn't allow him to say truths or facts. I have zero doubt that this single day, February 28th, 2025, has undone, and I'll go with what Chris Cluey said earlier. It's undone 100 years of American diplomacy in one press conference because Moron One and his appendix basically decided that we're going to go after him because Vlad wants me to go after him. And once again, for God's sakes, will anyone in the frickin' news media report? It's clear that Donald Trump is only doing what Vladimir Putin has told him to do. And the Republican Party is complicit. You know what happens when I start feeling a little down? I need a little bit of happy, upbeat music. From the movie Electric Dreams in 1984, Jeff Lynne did that entire soundtrack. Let's start playing video here. Why not? There you go. There it is. 1980s gold here. You have a fantastic weekend. I'm going to dance into the weekend. You can watch it on the video. We'll be back on a Monday. Till then, see ya.
I see that rock and roll and all those old times.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950 for Snap Construction again. Does your home feel colder than it should with the furnace constantly running? Or do certain rooms always